So, what if the whole point of education wasn't just, getting good grades? What if it was about creating a better, more peaceful world? I mean, that's a pretty huge goal, right? But that is the audacious mission of the International Baccalaureate, or the IB. So, let's dive in and really break down what that even means. Okay, so here it is, right on the screen. This is their core mission statement, and you can see right away this isn't about memorizing facts and figures. It's about shaping a mindset. It's about shifting how you see yourself, not just as a citizen of one country, but as part of a global community, a community with a shared responsibility for the entire planet. That's big stuff. And you gotta understand, this isn't just some fluffy marketing slogan they put on a brochure. This is supposed to be the North Star for every single IB program all over the world. The idea is that every class, every single assignment should somehow point back to this core philosophy. Right, but that is the big question, isn't it? Internationally minded. That's a beautiful phrase for sure, but it's also kind of vague. I mean, how do you actually teach that? How do you measure it? What does a person who is internationally minded actually, you know, do? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into. Let's try to move from this really lofty ideal to something a bit more concrete, something we can actually get our hands around. And just so you know, we're not just making this up or guessing. This whole explainer is based on research from 2013, where a team was actually tasked by the IB to dig through all their official documents to figure out how they define this core idea. So this is coming from the source. So what did the researchers find? Well, they discovered that this big, kind of fuzzy idea of international-mindedness can actually be broken down into three core pieces, three distinct components that show up again and again. So let's take a look at what they are. All right, pillar number one is multilingualism. And right off the bat, I want to be clear, this is not just about being able to order a coffee in 3 different languages. No, it goes way, way deeper than that. Check out that key phrase in the definition. A reconfiguration of how we think. That's powerful. This is all about realizing that language isn't just a tool. It's woven into the very fabric of our culture and our identity. It literally shapes how we see the world. So here's what that means in practice. First, it puts a huge value on a student's own mother tongue, seeing it as vital to who they are. But it also recognizes that, hey, English is a pretty important tool for global access. So it's not one or the other. Language is seen as a bridge, a way to connect us to our own history, and a way to connect us to other people. Okay, so if multilingualism is the bridge, then our second pillar, intercultural understanding, is all about what happens once you cross that bridge. This is where we move beyond just words and get into entire worldviews. And again, this is an active thing. It's not about passively learning a list of facts about another country. It's about developing a real, genuine appreciation for different ways of life and building a solid foundation of respect for people who are different from you. Now, this is where it gets really challenging, right? Because this part requires us to turn the spotlight back on ourselves. It's about questioning our own values, our own assumptions, and it uses this great word, decentering, which basically means trying to step outside of your own cultural bubble for a minute to see things from a different angle. It's all about critical self-reflection. All right, that brings us to our third and final pillar. And this one is all about action. It's called global engagement. See, the idea here is that being internationally minded isn't just something you think or feel. It's something you do. It has to translate into real-world action. This is about rolling up your sleeves and getting involved, whether it's right in your own backyard or in communities far away. And let's be real, this is probably the most demanding part of the whole thing. The research is pretty clear that this isn't just about, volunteering at a bake sale. It's about taking a stand on big, complex issues. It means you actually have to confront tough topics, things like inequality, poverty, and power structures. The whole point is to be an active participant in making the world better, not just someone sitting on the sidelines watching. Okay, so there you have it. That's the three-part definition: multilingualism, intercultural understanding, and global engagement. Sounds pretty amazing, right? But having a great definition on paper is one thing. Making it actually happen in the real world, that's a whole different story. Which leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Is this incredible philosophy actually working in practice? Does it show up in how IB schools operate? And maybe most importantly, in how they actually assess their students? And this, my friends, is where the research gets really interesting. Because what it found was a pretty big gap, a disconnect between that amazing, ambitious philosophy we just talked about and how it's actually assessed on paper. So let's break down that disconnect. On one hand, the goal, the aspiration is this deep, transformative cultural awareness. But in reality, when it comes to assessment, it often gets watered down into just another cognitive skill, another box to check. The goal is to tackle tough political global issues, but the research found that sometimes those topics are avoided, maybe to keep things neutral. And finally, while the big idea itself is really well defined, the actual tools to measure it, they're just not quite there yet. All right, so we've gone on quite a journey here. After this deep dive, what's the big takeaway? What should we remember from all this? Well, you can think of it like this. The story starts with this incredible, grand vision. Let's create a better, more peaceful world. Then, that huge vision gets broken down into three powerful pieces: multilingualism, intercultural understanding, and global engagement. But the story doesn't end there. The final and maybe most important part is facing the challenge. How do you bridge that gap between the big idea and how it actually works in practice? And that really leaves us with a challenge that goes way beyond the IB or any classroom. It's a question for every single one of us. How do we take these big, beautiful ideas about being a global citizen and turn them into real, meaningful action in our own lives, in our own communities? Because at the end of the day, a better world isn't just something to be studied, it's something that has to be built. The only question left is, where will you start?